And welcome to another issue of the Pun or another episode of the Pun Show. Um, Today we've got lot to talk about. If you have not heard about this, there's this guy named Brian Morales. He was born in Colorado. He has a birth certificate and everything, and now he has been deported. ICE is saying, and DHS are saying that they had, the deportation order that he was here illegally. He offered to show them, according to him, he offered to show his birth certificate. They wouldn't look at it, they wouldn't review it. And now there is an actual American citizen that has been deported. They are not challenging that his birth certificate is authentic. He has a social security number. They're not challenging that that's authentic. But they said they had a deportation order. Now, why are they having deportation orders for American citizens? Like, that seems just a tad problematic to me, and like to anybody who is engaged with reality in any substantive way. And so there is an issue here, right? This is why when you keep hearing all these Republicans saying, what do you have to worry about if you're not here illegally? Well, this is what you have to worry about. You have to worry about getting deported for being brown, not for being here illegally. So this guy Brian Morales is here not just here legally. He was born here. He is as much an American citizen as anybody. But he has been deported, and they won't let him back in. They won't even let him back in because they'd have to admit they were wrong about something. And then they might have to start giving people that are here, illegally due process. When the whole thing started coming up, and they started saying that that illegal immigrants don't get due process. They're not entitled to due process. This was always the argument. This was always uh the reason that people were concerned about that is who determines that you're here illegally if you don't have due process? How do you know that the person you're deporting is here illegally? They deported not just an American citizen who migrated here and something went awry with the naturalization paperwork, but an actual man that was born in Colorado, and they have deported him, and they won't let him back in the country. There's an issue with that. If you don't have an issue with that, don't call yourself a patriot. American citizens should not be getting deported. We're not talking about a naturalized citizen. We're talking about an actual person born in America that was deported and offered to show his birth certificate, offered to show his social security card. They wouldn't let him show them. And now he's been deported. So that actually is part of why I wanted to talk about election security today, because we keep hearing about ICE agents being at the polls and being put at the polls and to keep undocumented immigrants from voting in the election, which they aren't doing. I want to just point out something that I feel like we say a lot, you hear a lot. There's no evidence that undocumented immigrants are voting in, any meaningful number. That's like saying that there's no evidence that pink elephants are farting unicorns and leprechauns in my refrigerator that are eating my pizza. It's true there's no evidence that that's happening. But to just say there's no evidence that's happening is to give the notion that it could happen way too much credit. There is not just no evidence that undocumented immigrants aren't voting. There's no reason to believe they are. Any more than there's any reason to believe there's miniature pink elephants farting unicorns in my refrigerator. It's just not happening. It's not realistic. People aren't going to come over here to vote. That's just such a dumb thing to think. If they're here illegally, the last thing they're going to do is commit a crime, sign a paper confessing to the crime, and give them their address. Like, that's just not happening. People aren't doing that, especially when the crime has absolutely no payoff and all the risk of getting deported and sent to prison and having their family destroyed. It's just a dumb idea to think that illegals were voting. There were illegals voting in New Jersey. Okay, let's talk about this thing in New Jersey. What happened? All right. What happened in New Jersey is they actually, when they went to get their driver's license, they said they weren't citizens. They said they weren't citizens. And then when they were sent ballots, they were like, I don't understand. I mean, like, they might not understand the election laws, but they never claimed to be citizens. There was an error in the software. The immigrants weren't lying. They told the truth. They said that they weren't citizens. But then they get sent ballots, and so they say, oh, I must be able to vote. That's not on them. And there were only like 400 of them. It's not like there was this massive number. Like, this is just a dishonest representation of what happened. You know, false address. Where's your evidence? Like, how are they getting a false address? How does that even work? Have you ever registered to vote? Have you registered to vote? You have to actually have your address in order to vote. It's so dumb. Like, it's so dumb. No, they're not giving false addresses so that they can vote illegally. It's just not happening, Joe. It's not. No, the NGA did not register them. There was a glitch in the software, Joe. The software made a mistake. Like, understand what actually happened. The software made a mistake. Nobody intentionally registered them. And then the state, when they found out the mistake, announced it. It's not like they tried to bury it. If they were trying to do this deliberately, why do you think they would announce it? And the person that won the election was not governor when it happened. It's just, please think things through before you say them. Are you saying that the elections in New Jersey were totally up and up? There was no cheating? Yes, I am saying that the elections in New Jersey, there was no cheating. I am absolutely 100% saying that. There was a software error that resulted in 400 non-citizens voting because they were sent ballots even though they shouldn't have been. That's it. Yeah, I worked in voter registration. Yes, it is. No, it's not. I don't know, like, I do not believe everything that people on the internet tell me. I don't believe that you worked in voter registration if you don't think that you need to actually have your address to vote. You need to have verification of your address to register to vote. You can't just make up an address. You can't just go in and say, I live here. No, you have to actually validate that you live there, Joe. And if you really worked in voter registration, Joe, then you would know that that's the case. No, it didn't, because of the people that make up the software coming after. No, they're not. You're wrong, and 400 people that weren't eligible voted and took 400 people whose vote should have counted out. No, they didn't. You don't even know how they voted or who they voted for. They didn't take away anybody's vote. Dude is so brainwashed. Lay off the CNN, says the guy who watches Newsmax. 400 people were sent wrong ballots. The state of New Jersey announced it. They did not register to vote. They said they were not citizens. All right. We're not going to sit there and have ICE agents sit on polls across the entire country, intimidating people and trying to prevent brown people from voting just because there was a software glitch in New Jersey that they announced and fixed. No, that's not true, Joe. New Jersey's only came out because they would not, because they would personally put fines on the governor. No, that's not true. Then why is the software company suing New Jersey? I don't know. I know that there's nothing intentional there. I don't know what happened. I don't know what about the lawsuit. I can look it up. Okay. I'm just typing it in the chat right now. All right. At the moment, no, they are not. According to chat, I can find no indication that the software company IDEMIA has sued the state of New Jersey. What has happened is New Jersey Governor Mike Sherrill publicly blamed IDEMIA for the voter registration error that resulted in approximately 66,900 citizens being added to the voter rolls, and announced that the state is moving to terminate the company's MVC contract. Of those 6,600, only about 400 voted. IDEMIA has publicly denied responsibility. The company says its software worked according to state specifications and that the state had access to applicant citizenship information, was responsible for determining voter eligibility. The dispute has become quite public, but I found no reports of IDEMIA filing a lawsuit against New Jersey as of today. There are investigations underway, including the DOJ and an independent investigation commissioned by the state. So now, is there any indication that there was anything deliberate? Okay. Based on what is publicly known so far, there is no evidence that the registration were deliberate or part of an intentional effort to affect elections. In fact, several aspects of the known fact point away from that conclusion. Here's why: the affected applicants answered no when asked whether the U.S. was applying citizenship for their driver's license or state IDs. The registrations occurred over about a 1-year period and were only disclosed after the problem was discovered by the current administration, which ordered an independent investigation and removed the affected registrations. So the person who won the election is the one that's announcing the investigation. Fewer than 400 of the approximately 600 people are believed to have voted, and they were registered as Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliated voters. Officials say they have found no evidence that any election outcome was changed. So, who made the mistake? The state says software errors to blame. IDEMIA says its software simply transmitted information, and that the Division of Elections was responsible for validating any eligibility. So, yeah. So anyway, there's a whole lot you got wrong there. There is no lawsuit. The state did not sit on it until they announced the lawsuit. The person who won the election is the one who announced it. Like, please, if you're going to correct me on the facts, get the facts right. Okay, so then why in California 100 people all lived in the same house? They don't. I don't care who they voted for. They weren't supposed to vote. Yes, they weren't. And it was only 400, and they were sent ballots. They did not register to vote. This is not some indication of widespread voter fraud or illegals coming over here and voting. This actually proves the opposite of what you're saying. They said they were non-citizens. They said that they weren't. And by the way, they weren't here illegally. They were here legally. There's nothing to say that they were illegal immigrants. Democrats have always some sort of whacked out answer. I gave you a very specific, very reasonable answer. And you say this always as though like this happens all the time. No, this was like a one-time thing that happened and was like discovered and addressed. What are you scared of? Okay, so this is what you weren't here at the beginning. Do you know who Brian Morales is, Joe? or Care, whatever your name is, Carge. There's a guy named Brian Morales who is an American citizen who was born in Colorado and who has been deported, and they won't let him back in the country. He offered to show them his birth certificate. He offered to show them his social security card, and they deported him anyway, and he is still outside of the country, not allowed to re-enter, even though he is an American citizen. So what am I worried about? I'm worried about more of that. And I'm also worried about people that want to vote not being able to vote because they're afraid that if they go to vote, ICE agents are going to be out there intimidating people and threatening to deport them. So yeah, that's an issue. That you're disenfranchising people through threats and intimidation over something that was the opposite of what you're declaring it to be. Did they really fix it? Yes. I mean, I don't think so. They don't. Based on what? Based on what? I'm sorry, your expertise here is not really, being vetted. Not scared of ICE, scared of the beginning of authoritarian practices. And that should be a concern, right? Like that they are now deporting American citizens with birth certificates, not even naturalized American citizens, actual born American citizens, just like, maybe some of you were. And untrained ICE officers murdering citizens. Don't look on your commies' websites for answers. What is commie about voting? What makes me a commie? What is a commie website? Yeah, like, are you saying that voting is communist now? How come you don't say anything about Trump cheating? Yes. The only one that has really tried to have to steal an election in any of our lifetimes, a presidential election, is Donald Trump. Donald Trump tried to steal the the 2020 election. We have him on tape. We have him on tape saying, "Find me the votes." He had a rally and then sit a bunch of crazy people on the Capitol building. And it wasn't just that. He arranged for all these fake certificates to be, forged and presented as like the real electors. No, Donald Trump is the only one trying to steal elections, and he's trying to do it again through intimidating voters. LMAO, commies. Ha ha ha. Mud Butters, I think this is the first time I've seen you here. Welcome to the channel. Straight to the uneducated channels. And why? Trump, TDS is real. Trump does suck. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, another person that was here legally, working here legally. They tried to deport him. They did deport him. They sent him to a prison without any kind of trial. And then through extraordinary legal measures, they managed to get him back. Then they tried to frame him for human trafficking, all the way up to the top of the person that right now they want to make attorney general actually tried to frame this man for human trafficking. So much so that even the judge wanted to have him come in court and testify. And that's when they decided to drop the charges. So yeah, maybe illegal immigrants aren't coming up here and voting. Okay, Nick Shirley stood in front of the house, but anyways, why didn't they claim their voter rolls? Okay, first of all, Nick Shirley did not stand in front of a house. He went to a closed daycare center and made a big deal. If you go and that has nothing to do with voting either. Like, Nick Shirley has nothing to do with anything. Nick Shirley is a kid with a camera and a YouTube channel that doesn't know what he's talking about. Why did they vote? Because they were sent ballots. And of the 6,600, only 400 voted. But, they're sent ballots. They're like, I didn't know I could vote. And then they voted, that's not on them. None of them are being prosecuted for a reason. Nick Shirley hates half of himself. And stop calling me Shirley. Sorry. Have to do that. His words are completely irrelevant. The whole thing with the day, I don't know, maybe there's something else he did where he went to a house where I'll ask the thing is with Nick Shirley and some of these right-wing lunatics, all right. Did Nick Shirley find 100? Hang on. Did Nick Shirley find 100 people registered in the same house? Released a video in 2026 claiming that he found 108 registered voters associated with a single residential address in San Diego, California. The number you're remembering is likely 108, not exactly 100. However, it's important to distinguish between what he found in voter registration records and what that means. Shirley presented the address as evidence suggesting potential voter fraud. Election officials and independent fact checkers disputed the information and the implication that this demonstrated fraud. They noted that there are legitimate reasons many people can be associated with one address, such as apartment buildings, group housing, transitional housing, care facilities, or other multi-unit residences that may appear under a single street address in some databases. This is similar to another claim Shirley made earlier about 30-plus voters being registered at a UPS store. The claim, it turned out to be on a misunderstanding of the address. The UPS store shared the store address as a 34-unit apartment complex, and the voters were registered to apartments, not the mailbox store. California election officials said there were no voters registered to the USPS store number itself. So the answer is yes, Shirley did publicize a case involving 108 registered voters tied to one address. No, that does not by itself establish voter fraud. Whether it represents an innocent explanation or an actual problem depends on the nature of the address and the specific allegations. As the reporting available, there has not been public evidence that showing the 108 voters in one address case resulted in confirmed fraudulent voting. So again, this is the problem with these amateur sleuths, is they don't actually know what they're talking about or what they're doing, and they're just trying to get sensational reporting and YouTube clicks, and he wants to get another retweet from JD Vance and Elon Musk or whatever. But that doesn't mean that there's not voting. Like, there's all kinds of reasons that you could have multiple people using one address. How do you know that he has not come out on any newscasts that they but what you're saying? I'm sorry, that's not even English. I don't even know how to understand that. Not murder, you're purposefully misrepresenting and purposefully ignorant. Okay, a man who was committing no crime tried to help a woman to her feet after she was shoved down by an ICE agent. Then they threw him on the ground, beat him, took his gun away, and shot him 10 times. That's murder. That's the only honest way to represent what happened to Nick Shirley, or to Alex Preddy. Renee Good was just trying to drive away, and she was murdered. I'm sorry. The person in Maine was just executed for no reason at all, and he wasn't even here illegally. So yeah, maybe the one misrepresenting things and trying to justify murder is you. I saw a short where they said police brutality also climbs fast now. Alarming. I have not heard about that. Nothing this guy said is true. Oh, except it is. They want January 6th in city streets. Maryland proud. He is home safe. Oh, you're from Maryland? Yeah, he's safe. And they told the DOJ, just leave the guy alone. Like, this guy did nothing wrong. And one of the things that really irks me about all this is that they're making asylum seekers seem like they're somehow evil. Like, not wanting to get murdered by by gangs is illegal. There was this report I was reading today about a couple in Guatemala that was told, oh, you know, your asylum claims are bunked, and they got sent back to Guatemala, and within a couple of weeks they were murdered, and their infant baby was sitting there like being held by the mother and was sitting there crying, like they managed to save the baby's life. But they didn't murder the baby, but they murdered both the parents, who apparently had no risk to being sent back to Guatemala. Real ID should be enough, since you have to present a birth certificate and social security card to get one. You don't actually have to do that. You don't have to present either a social security card, or you don't even have to have a social security card or a birth certificate to get one. Those are IDs that you can use to get one, but you don't have to use them. It's just the most common IDs that are used. But this is you know, on the subject of real IDs, though, when you hear all of these people that sit there and say, well, you need your ID to do this, that's the real ID. You need to do that. That's not what's being asked for. And in all honesty, you know, where you need to show a picture ID to vote, in states that have voter ID laws, it actually really doesn't make any difference one way or the other. Because again, people just don't vote illegally for the most part. Like, it's very, very rare for anybody to vote illegally. The only cases where there's anything substantive is when the people who are running try to, you know, rig the elections. And so they're trying to, you know, change the outcome for themselves. And so they'll like stuff hundreds of ballots into the box or something, and they've been caught. Other than that, there are people that vote for dead relatives, like their dead spouse or whatever, that they wanted to vote and they died before the election, and so they voted for him. And that happens with both Republicans and Democrats. The other thing that happens is people that don't know that they're not allowed to vote and they vote. Like, you'll have people that, you know, they were convicted of a felony and they are they're out of prison. And in some states, if you're out of prison but you have a felony conviction on your record, you're not allowed to vote. So they don't know they're allowed to vote. Like, that happens in Texas. There are, you know, there's just most of the other voting fraud that happens is not really fraud. It's just not knowing what the voting laws are, which is why they don't usually get prosecuted. It's very rare because it's such a low reward, high risk thing. Like, people, you know, if you get caught, you can go to jail, you can go to prison, you can have your entire life destroyed. And all you get out of it is one more vote. There's just very little reward and very huge risk. Hi, Harry. How you doing? It looks like we had a couple of MAGAs that ran away when they got presented with facts. But this is like I have a friend that, you know, that actually a high school friend from Liberia, yes, that you know, he caught just out of by coincidence, kind of tuned into my stream yesterday. He doesn't watch it all the time, but yesterday he tuned in while I was talking about Liberia. So he was, you know, saying that it was cool. And then he asked, you know, could I cover something about the what can the Democrats do if Donald Trump tries to intimidate voters during the election? And I think that's a good question. And if I had the pull, I would get Mark Elias to come on here and talk about it. And I think he's the one that really knows what's going on there. He is like if anybody ever deserved a cape, it's Mark Elias. Um, I got that diarrhea virus. I don't know how to get rid of it. I can't afford to go through this much toilet paper. I hear you. Um, that's too bad. Um, I had stomach issues for like decades, and sometimes I'd have like diarrhea for a whole week. It was terrible. It was terrible. I had to get like the really soft toilet paper so it wouldn't hurt my butt when I wiped too much. Anyway, that's not really something that we needed to talk about. We might be branching out into the whole TMI thing there. Um, but anyway, so my friend from Liberia was he was saying, "What can the Democrats do? Can you cover this on your show?" And so I'm going to pop this up here. Um, this is just a brief summation of what the laws are that Donald Trump would be breaking. I guess it doesn't fit on there very well. Oh, well, hang on. Let me see if this works. So there. If anyone... so these are the three laws that if there are armed agents at the polling places... hang on. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open it on. If anyone shows up at a polling places with armed federal agents, this is what Congress has already passed laws against. 18 USC 592 generally prohibits troops and armed men at polling places except in extraordinary circumstances and involving armed enemies. 18 USC 594 makes U.S. voter intimidation or attempted intimidation a federal crime, and Voting Rights Act prohibits intimidation, threats, or coercion of voters even without proof of discriminatory intent. So this is just brazenly illegal what Donald Trump wants to do. When he's talking about sending troops to the polls, that is against the law. These are the laws it is against. I wanted to put the laws up there because people are going to sit there and try to, like equivocate on them. Well, there's no equivocation. It's against the law. Can you cover some of your time in Liberia? If you don't mind, don't worry if you don't want to. Yeah, I can. Ask me in a couple of minutes. I can talk about that more, but right now I just kind of want to wrap up on this. And this is why, like this whole thing with Brian Morales is so important, because it's not just now that people are getting deported that are American citizens. This means like you could have, Hispanic people, Hispanic voters, just not show up because they're afraid of encountering ICE agents and getting deported, even though they're citizens. When they won't let you show you their birth certificate, or what you won't let you show them your birth certificate and prove that you're an American citizen, they're just going to deport you anyway. That's gonna have a chilling effect on the elections, especially if these people have guns and they're built out like they're in all this riot gear and stuff to put a threatening presence on the voting polls. They're not going to ask me for my birth certificate, but Juan Carlos Hernandez, they're going to ask him. And you don't need your birth certificate to go vote, by the way. You just need your ID. You need it to register to vote. But they're going to, whether they actually deport people or not, whether or not they arrest people for, trying to vote illegally or not, it all has a chilling effect on the elections. And this is one of those things where I feel like there needs to be preventive. We need a condom for this before it ever goes into effect. Because once it goes into effect, it's too late. So one of the things you need to do is know your rights, know the law. But if apparently they're going to just ignore the law, not give you a chance to an attorney, not give you a chance to prove you're a citizen, I don't even know what to do. I just don't. Other than just, we need to make sure that ICE agents aren't allowed to go and patrol polling places. I do not understand that we have gotten to this point in America to where we're debating whether or not we should have armed officers sitting there intimidating voters. Like this should not be a thing that we discuss. And again, American non-citizens, there's just not an issue with non-citizens voting in America. There's just not. Even if you bring up the thing in New Jersey, when it ended up in 400 votes, that they said they weren't citizens. They said that they never registered to vote. That was just a computer error. And then they got sent ballots. They maybe immigrants aren't, experts on election law. They got sent ballots and they said, "Oh, I guess I can vote." America is becoming a country of rule by law rather than rule of law. I like that. If Democrats are in the files, why is Trump not releasing the files? Right. They always say, "Oh, if Biden's in, why didn't Biden release the files?" And the reason Biden didn't release the files, first of all, this whole assumption is that Biden reviewed the files or that Biden's DOJ reviewed the files to see if Trump was in there. Right? There's no indication that they did that. They do not have the mentality that Trump does, to where he's sitting there trying to find dirt on his opponent. They did not actually weaponize the Justice Department. They prosecuted crimes Donald Trump committed. There were two things that the federal government, not Joe Biden, but the federal government prosecuted him for. Both weren't even by the Department of Justice. They were both by a special prosecutor who's a Republican. And the first thing, they tried everything they could to avoid it. Like they kept trying to get the records back from him. They tried so many times. He literally signed a piece of paper saying that he had turned everything back in, and he didn't turn everything back in. And these are not just casual things. These are not like just documents. They're documents that include national security secrets. And you can sit there and play around with the word classified all you want. But it doesn't change that these are important national security documents that have important national security information. And he kept those. And they tried to get him, and he signed a piece of paper. He signed a piece of paper saying that he had turned them all back in. And they said, "No, you didn't. Please let us come pick them up." And then he tried to hide them. So he broke the law. This was not weaponizing the Justice Department. It was prosecuting a criminal. He tried to overturn the elections. That's not like they act like he didn't do anything wrong. He said peacefully, as though that is the totality of everything that has anything to do with January 6th or the whole Green Bay sweep or anything. Like he said peacefully. Therefore, everything he did wrong is okay. Because he said the word peacefully one time. It's such nonsense. It's such disingenuous, dishonest nonsense. But he broke the law. They never weaponized the Justice Department. He broke the law in just egregious ways. So anyway, he's the one, so getting back to your question there, Randall. If Trump is in the files, why didn't the Democrats release it? Because they weren't going through the files to see if Trump was in it, right? Like, it's really that simple. That's number one. Number two, Janine Maxwell's appeal was still there, right? And so they were limited in which files they could release. They actually did release all the files they legally could. So that's the second problem with that argument. The Democrats did release what they could. Right now, and then the third problem with that argument is, even if they could prove something and they didn't release them because they couldn't get Trump, whatever that means, there's still people that rape these little girls. And it's not just about Trump, it's about the victims and getting justice for the victims. So if you just take Trump out of it, why do you need to, why does it have to be that it's okay that they all get away with it because the Democrats didn't release it, because if Trump were in it, then they would have released it? Like, it's such a weird perspective on the whole thing. The victims deserve justice, period. I don't care if it was Donald Trump or Daffy Duck or Bill Clinton or whoever. People that rape little girls should go to jail. And people who rape little boys should go to jail. I don't care who released it or who didn't release it. Right now, Donald Trump is the one not releasing it. And Donald Trump is still responsible for whatever Donald Trump does. It does not matter what anybody else did. Donald Trump is uniquely responsible for the action or inaction of Donald Trump. Full stop. Randall, why are you asking that when you know the answer? Don't you have Google? And that, yeah, I mean, they ask this question all the time as though it's like some sort of gotcha that Democrats can't ever answer. And I just answered it, and Randall will either ignore what I just said, or he will move the goalposts, or he will do something. But I answered the question, Randall, and you won't acknowledge that I answered it. Remember when Pam Bondi brought up the Dow Jones when talking about the Epstein files? Oh, yeah, so the Dow's over 50,000. Enjoy being a democratic socialist. I'm out. Because you got owned. That's why you're out. You got proven wrong, and then you fled. Coward. Red Scare tactics. Exactly. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. January 6th, MAGA defecated inside the Capitol building and smeared the feces in several hallways. Charlie Kirk provided transportation. Yeah, this whole, glorification of Charlie Kirk as though he was some sort of martyr and hero. He was an asshole before he died, and now he's just an asshole who died. He's no less of an asshole because he got murdered. And that doesn't make the guy that killed him okay or justified. It doesn't mean that I'm celebrating murder. I'm just not going to celebrate a guy because he got murdered. He's no less an asshole than he was before he got murdered. The difference between me and you is I have my facts and you have your poopy MAGA opinion. They don't like facts. MAGA runs. You saw, as soon as he started hearing facts, Randall fled. He ran away. Did you see that Donald Trump suspended the national security summaries that Joe Biden, as a former president, would usually get? I did not see that. You're talking about like the presidential daily briefing or whatever? It's hard to keep up with this. I mean, it's not like he reads anyway. The only thing he reads are articles about himself. He has like this person that runs around with him and prints off stories of himself about about himself so that he can sit there and admire himself. The man is the biggest narcissist that I have ever heard of. Can you imagine? Every once in a while, I Google myself, and you know, just out of curiosity, I think everybody's probably Googled themselves every now and then. But I don't print off pages and filter out only the flattering stuff. It is funny though, because every once in a while, like a MAGA will be mad at me and say something, and I get a kick out of those. Fox and Trump say giving to the poor is communism, and bailing out billionaires is totally fine and shouldn't ever be talked about, even be talked about. Son, I was thinking about this. They're all upset about Mamdani and the and the grocery stores, which, okay, what he's doing is there are 5 bureaus in New York, as you know, like the city has 5 bureaus, and he wants to have one grocery store that is publicly, I don't know, I think they're privately owned but publicly supplemented or something, to where the goal is to keep prices 30% below what they are at the private grocery stores. And this is actually just so that people can afford to eat healthy food. It's so funny that the same people that get all irate over SNAP benefits being used on Pepsi get mad that the tax dollars would be used to buy produce and healthy food. Like, if you're going to get mad about the Pepsi, don't get mad about vegetables. Like, follow through. If there's what's wrong with supplementing good, nourishing food for poor people? And it's not like they're going to drive out. It's 5 grocery stores in the entire city of New York. It's not like everybody is going to drive to those 5 grocery stores. People that are can afford the regular grocery stores are going to go there. They're not going to sit there and want to drive extra miles and wait through extra long lines or whatever. I mean, they're just doing all this scare tactic nonsense. But it is so amazing how much MAGA just hates people for being poor. It's disturbing. It is the opposite of what Jesus Christ said and did in his ministry. And they sit there and they put Christian in their bios when they're the most unchristian group of people ever. All right, so Red Scare tactics, yep. And they don't even care about the difference between communism and socialism and democratic socialism and social democracy and whatever. That's why I've mentioned before, I just prefer calling it mixed capitalism, because it just takes that wording out of it and makes it less confusing. This is mixed capitalism. The stores would still be privately owned. They would just be supplemented with tax dollars so that poor people can eat healthy food. And if you have a problem with that, then I just have a problem with your whole sense of humanity and decency. Like, you're allowed to disagree with it, but I'm allowed to think that you're a terrible person for thinking that poor children shouldn't be able to eat healthy food. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think that, rich people getting more money should be prioritized over poor killed children getting healthy food. Government no longer works for we the people in the minds anymore. They fight for what they want for themselves, not for having the people. Not for the people. Right. And that's why we need to be able to change the government through voting. And that's why we need to be concerned when you have Donald Trump sitting there trying to act like he's going to deport you if you vote and you're brown. I typed all the thumbs. I typed that all thumbs. I heard rumor CK was abusing Adderall. I don't know anything about that, nor do I care. The I just the whole Charlie Kirk thing to me was just one time. So this is what happened. Charlie Kirk, when he was alive, this was some years ago. He tweeted something about communism and Democrats being communists. And I told him, Democrats aren't communism. If you think that, then you have no idea what communism is. And then so he DM'd me. Like at the time I had maybe like 10,000 followers on Twitter. I mean, and he was still had a much bigger following than I do now, but now I've got about, around 80,000. And so he's like, "Do you want to debate me?" And I'm just like, "No, I don't want to debate you. You're a bleeping idiot." And I blocked him. I have no, his whole idea of debating and stuff is it's not honest, it's not real, it's not valid. His whole debating tactics are nonsense. He controls the conversation. He uses fallacies. He decides that he's just gonna declare victory when he hasn't won. He debates kids. He says things that aren't right, and he calls that debating. It's just when you lie with the power of the microphone, that's what he does. And that's what he did. I had no, and because he had so many more followers than me, it was just he could bully me, through his following. And I had no desire to do all that. So I just blocked him. But, that I get so tired of this. Oh, he wants to debate. He was willing to debate people. No, he wasn't willing to debate people. He really wasn't. An honest debate means that you have honest ears. Like if you're really willing to debate people, like people brought up earlier stuff on the show, just in the comments here, things that I hadn't heard of. And so what I did is I immediately looked it up to see if it was true. And turns out it wasn't. But I was willing to check it out. Charlie Kirk doesn't actually consider that somebody could tell him something he doesn't already know. Well, he didn't. Now he doesn't consider anything. Tell Fox the communism thing isn't working. You need to go back to aliens or maybe zombie vampires. If they get on zombie vampires, they're going to have to explain away Stephen Miller. Actually, I think Stephen Miller is proof that vampire charts can spontaneously generate. People pushing universal health care and slightly higher taxes on billionaires aren't scary enough. And this is one of the things, like when they sit there and they talk about, I posted this on Facebook and I got all kinds of reactions, but strictly speaking, in a pure communist, type society that they're trying to scare you away from, nobody pays taxes. Nobody. Everybody just gets paychecks because the means of production and distribution are controlled by the government. You don't pay taxes in a real communist government. So the very fact that there is a wealth tax, when they talk about a wealth tax, one, that means that they see there's still wealth, right? It's not everybody has an exact same size of the pie. And there's still a tax, which means that the government is not running the means of production and distribution. A wealth tax and the socialism they're trying to scare us away from are mutually exclusive. You cannot have a wealth tax in a pure socialist society. But you can't have wealth or a tax in a pure socialist society. Elon Musk wanted to go to Epstein's wildest parties. Probably. They are flexing with the word socialism a lot lately because I believe they're going to try to end Social Security, and stupid people relate the word social and socialism. Probably they know the masses are asses. Bingo. They get angry about unhealthy eating with SNAP benefits, but they also oppose healthy eating in New York City and oppose healthy eating in schools. Right. Remember when Michelle Obama wanted to have healthy food in cafeterias and they just absolutely wigged out? And now RFK Jr., talks about, kids eating healthier. And then it's like all of a sudden he's like, just, why didn't the Democrats ever care about this? Like they're so, I think that kids eating healthy food should be like one of those things we can come together on as a society and say, we should all do this. I mean, like, honestly, I've talked a lot about how, I've gotten more into eating healthy food. And I don't mean like organic, the most expensive organic food. I mean just food that is actually not processed to death. And I've talked a lot about it before. I'm down to 145. I was at 225. I've lost 80 pounds. And I eat yummy food all the time. Yeah, this weekend I made brownies. And I made a triple berry compote that I put on top of it, and it was amazing. Amazing. You would not, I should post a picture. If you saw these brownies, you would not think somebody is eating like that and losing 80 pounds, right? Because it's food. It's food. And when you get healthy food, you have a healthy gut that communicates with your brain when you're full, so you eat less. Not because you're trying to eat less and exercising portion control, but because your brain is just telling you how much you need to eat. And when you have like, when you do fresh milled flour and you get insoluble fibers and stuff like that, it gives you more of a sense of fullness. And anyway, I don't want to go on a big, long digression, but I think that eating healthy food should be like one of those things that is apolitical. And I belong to, a number of groups for fermenting and for milling and stuff like that. And there are people from different political persuasions that are all very much into eating healthy food. I don't understand why this is a controversial thing. But it's not the left that is making it controversial. It is just these MAGAs that like feel like if they are for something, Democrats must be against it. And then if Democrats are for something, they must be against it. I haven't ever heard a Democrat say that, criticize eating healthy food. But Michelle Obama got crucified for it. Mitch McConnell has another photo. They will keep making this till August 8th so they don't have to put a Democrat in position. Weekend at Mitch's. You are a patriot. I am. I think that anybody that is standing up, the true patriots are the ones that stand against Donald Trump. You don't have to have patriot and an American flag in your bio to be a patriot. We give the government plenty of money in the form of taxes. They need to figure it out. Giving more money isn't the answer. Okay, what do you mean we give the government plenty of money in the form of taxes? Okay. As a taxpayer, I think that we all have a right to consider how that tax money gets spent, right? I would rather that my tax money goes towards feeding children in America than killing children in Iran. Now, there are some people that are happy that their money is being used to kill children in Iran. Or, that the money that was saving lives in Africa, saving children's lives in Africa, that's not happening anymore. But, They're happy that that money didn't go to save lives of little children. I prefer, like my money go to save children, not kill children. Now, maybe you're different. Maybe you would rather have your money go to killing children than saving them. That's your right. That's your prerogative. But that's why we have a democracy where we settle these things about what the government should or shouldn't do at the ballot box. I mean, they got that angry about healthy eating in schools that pizza was federally designated as a vegetable, so they couldn't ban it for being unhealthy. Remember, this is not a new thing. Ronald Reagan, back in the 80s, got ketchup declared as a vegetable because it was made from tomatoes. Oh, hey, look at that. Brett's right there. Didn't Ronald Reagan deem ketchup a vegetable for school lunches? I could have sworn I read that. Yep. But they couldn't go to the poor children. But they wouldn't go to the poor children. The government would just waste the money. Based on what? Based on what, Joe? Where are you getting that they would just waste the money and it wouldn't go to poor children? Like, why are you saying that? That just seems to be like just a thing that you threw out there. Donald Trump is one person. Yes, he is. No, I think that is objectively true. Donald Trump is one person. I don't think he's really the problem. He is a huge problem. I mean, there are other problems, but he is still a problem. There are a lot of things that are problematic about Donald Trump. The problem is the corrupt, lifelong politicians in Washington. No, that's not really the problem. I think that if somebody gives their life to something, that does not mean that they are corrupt. There are corrupt, lifelong politicians in Washington. There are also non-corrupt, lifelong politicians in Congress. There are also people in Washington who are new to Washington that are corrupt. Donald Trump is not a lifelong politician, but he is by far the most corrupt politician in the history of our country. He got over $4 billion from the Middle East last year. If that were Mamdani, or if that were Barack Obama, where his family got $4 billion in business with the Middle East while he was president, especially from a country that helped finance 9/11, not officially the country, but people in that country financed 9/11. And you've got Donald Trump doing billions of dollars with Saudi Arabia in business, giving Saudi Arabia the ability to enrich uranium while he's murdering children in Iran for wanting to do the same thing. And I'm not trying to say Iran is the good guys or anything like that. I'm just saying that Donald Trump has a double standard. And it seems to be that if you give him money, he will let you do what you want. So Donald Trump is not the problem, but he is a problem, and he is a huge problem. Sounds like Trump is getting a lot closer to Daniel Ortega. I don't know what's going on with that. He's trying. Daniel Ortega is the authoritarian leader in Nicaragua. If you don't know who he is, and apparently he's trying to he's contemplating getting rid of elections altogether. Which, if Donald Trump could do that, he would. LMFAO. I hope that was a good LMFAO and not a bad LMFAO. I hope you were laughing with me and not at me. I just copied these quality of life ratings on the worst of 50 states. 41, Arizona, Arkansas 42, Oklahoma 40. Oh, yeah. Oklahoma 43, Alabama 44, Missouri 45, Utah 46, Georgia 47, Louisiana 48, Indiana 49, and Texas. Woohoo! My home state, 50 or 50th. Or I'm sorry, 50th is Tennessee. I got those all backwards. Anyway, there seems to be Arkansas, red state, Arizona, or Arkansas, red state, Oklahoma, red state, Alabama, red state, Missouri, red state, Utah, red state, Georgia. The senators are Democrats, but the state is run by Republicans. Louisiana, red state, Indiana, red state, Texas, red state, Tennessee, red state. What do all these bottom states have in common? And this is one of those things when they talk about like tax liability, and these, I bet if you looked at the same thing, these all, rank near the bottom in tax burden, right? But that's part of the whole thing, is they're not providing any benefit there. And so you probably also, if you were to look at wealth distribution, they're probably also really bad there. Kelly, my condolences. Texas is 49th in worst quality of life, which does not at all surprise me. MAGA treat poor people like they are lazy, refuse to work, and are resentful that the disadvantaged folks get stuff for free. What MAGA doesn't understand is that they are likely to get a job loss or major medical issue from being in the same boat. Empathy is in short supply in the MAGA crowd. Yeah, you love to see all these people that voted for Trump, that when bad stuff happens to them, all of a sudden they come around. Oh, it wasn't supposed to happen to me. But what did Jesus say? He who has done to the least of these has done also unto me. So anyway, the ones that they have Christian in their bio, I really wish they would have Christian in their life and not just in their bio. If they had Christian in their life and not just their bio, we would have a entirely different political conversation. On the bright side, I guess that means Mississippi is not on the bottom anymore. Hey, yeah, what's going on there? Everything in the media is emotional and sensational anymore. It's hard to find logic. It is. And it's hard to just start with something fact-based and work from there. And to a degree, both sides do that, but they don't do it equally. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, the left does it like on a 2, and the Republicans do it on a 12. Like I hate that there's this notion that if the Democrats have to be perfect before they can criticize anything Republicans do. But Republicans can criticize Democrats no matter what Republicans do. You're funny. Thank you. I hope I'm good funny. MAGA is MAGA is telling people to hang on till 2036 so they can be pampered like the people in that Will Smith iRobot movie. Yeah, you've got Elon Musk sitting there trying to act like the AI is going to be awesome because it's going to take away, it's going to do everything for us. And it's like, okay, what are people going to do for jobs then? Now we've got like, you fill out a resume and then you have AI improve your resume. Then you submit it and then an AI reviews your resume. And then you get a job maybe that is an AI job that's just training AI how to do your job, and that lasts temporarily until you don't have a job anymore, and then you have to go back and get a new AI resume. They're gonna turn everybody. They're gonna have two classes of people. You're gonna have the billionaires and you're gonna have the peasants. They want us to return to a serf society. The whole point of communist society is it produces what it needs and everyone gets the same share. Right. That is not what anybody is advocating for. Nobody wants that. As I always say, there is the liberal philosophy in America, the left in America, is not for an equal slice of the pie. They're just for everybody to have enough pie that they can survive. They want to raise the floor, not lower the ceiling. You can still be a billionaire. You can still be wealthy. I mean, some people are against billionaires, but they're not against individual wealth on a reasonable scale. They're not everybody has to have the exact same slice of the pie, and they're sitting there measuring with a ruler to make sure nobody's getting 2 extra crumbs. That's not what the left wants. What the left wants is children to have enough pie to eat. So they're not going to fix anything in one day or weeks or months. Now it's going to be a decades. Yes, yes. Everything is just it's going in 2024 when Donald Trump was running for election, it was on day one, I'm going to do this. On day one, I'm going to end the war in Ukraine. Now it's like, well, maybe by 2036, I'll come up with a healthcare plan. MAGA hears Elon, the man who hoarded money his entire life, say, money doesn't matter. There's going to be abundance for everyone. And MAGA thinks, I agree, because Elon has money. It's like, why aren't you? And he like does things like he buys a business like Twitter, and he lays off 2/3 of the people. Like, why he won't even let people work for a living. Do I have any cameras in my home? Well, obviously, considering I'm on camera in my home right now, I don't understand what this question is supposed to mean. Little kids want to eat healthy foods, please. Like, kids want to eat healthy. Yeah. Whether kids want to eat healthy food is irrelevant. They should be able to. Elon Musk, I mean, like, your mom never made you eat your vegetables, Joe? Elon Musk brought Twitter so he wouldn't get shamed. Yeah. That's pathetic. And Kelly, you eat actual bread rather than cake. Yeah, I eat actual bread. I mill my own flour. I am telling you. I made a loaf of bread this weekend, and I'm not even exaggerating. My wife took one bite of it, and she's like, she talked about it for like 3 days, and she's like, this is the best bread ever. Like, it was, I used hard red, hard white, barley, spelt, einkorn, and emmer. It was my own proprietary 7-grain blend, and it was so good. It was so soft. It was so soft. Like it was just amazing. Like, when you mill your own flour, I'm just telling you, I'm gonna try and get everybody that watches this show to eventually buy, start milling their own flour, and it's cheaper. Like, that loaf of bread cost me like $1.50 to make, and it took about 20 minutes of work. I still remember the days when mom would make you lunch every day. And okay. Anyway, he's also the same guy that reprogrammed Grok to tell him that he's a better athlete than LeBron James. Did he really do that? LeBron is a 76er. That's pretty funny. By the way, just as a former NBA writer and Chicago Bulls fan, probably going to catch some flack for this, but I think LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. I think you can't dismiss the overall career, the massive numbers, and the fact that he's taken like 3 unique teams to the finals. Or Michael Jordan has more rings, but he had the same team that won all 6 of them. And, at least with Scottie Pippen. LeBron James had different players with him to win all of his. And who is the second best player he's ever played with? Maybe Dwayne Wade. There's no one that he's ever played with that is on the caliber of Scottie Pippen. Our Philadelphia, and by the way, I think Scottie Pippen is enormously underrated because his defense was astronomical, and he wasn't a 6th man in the traditional sense because he started, but he ran the offense when Michael Jordan was on the bench, and he ran it like a 6th man. He was incredibly effective as in that capacity. Part of it is I think that Scottie Pippen's role on those teams is a bit underrated, and that LeBron James had more to do with more teams winning. And this is splitting hairs, but I think that right now, I think it's fair to say that LeBron is the greatest. Our Philadelphia is going nuts over the LeBron guy. Personally, never a Sixers fan. Yeah, well, and he's definitely he's 41 or something now. He's not exactly, at the beginning of his career. It's amazing that he's still this good at his age, but he is way past his prime. LeBron is going to turn Pennsylvania blue. Republicans want. Man, I'm so annoyed with Fetterman. Republicans want socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. Privatize the profits, socialize the losses. Yes, that's a good way to put it. I mean that we give plenty of money to the government. If they weren't so corrupt and wasteful, they would. But this is Joe, this is this is just saying stuff. There's no substance to what you're saying. You need to have something more objective than just we give too much money to the government. That's just lazy. What are we spending too much money on? Why don't we spend less money? We could theoretically give the money, have the government just allocate the funding differently. And I'm not saying there's no corruption in the government. I'm just saying that this argument does nothing to address corruption. It's just yelling at clouds. I'd rather feed children than play around with the reflecting pool. Right. Or adorning the entire White House with gold. There was somebody that called it said it looks like a Thai restaurant now, which it does. I'm for starving children. Well, apparently some people are. They're defending taking away food from children. Elon Musk literally let food rot in boxes rather than send it to children. Trump reversed the river to trickle up economics, except it's a torrent. And it's always trickled up. That's just the way money works. The idea of money trickling is the whole idea is upside down. Every time you spend money, you go to a movie, the movie producer gets some of it, right? You go to a restaurant, the owner gets some of it. There's a certain percentage that always goes to somebody that has more money. And so it trickles up. And the only way to let it come out is through taxes. I say that the economy is not so much about trickling, it's more like a fountain than a trickle. It's it's gonna work its way up, and then it's gonna spray itself out. And the healthy economy allows the money to circulate up, and then it allows, like, the through taxes, the money to spray out. It keeps everything from clogging. It keeps the water fresh. The healthy economy is more like a fountain than a trickling. Based on history and the current state of things. Based on what history and based on what current state of things? You're not stating anything. You're just, what history? You're just corruption. Like, this is just, you're just using words that don't mean anything. It's too vague and abstract. It's not an easy thing because it's true. And did you just start paying attention? No, I have been paying attention for 40 years and I don't even know what is true. Like, you're not saying anything. You're just making a blanket statement with absolutely no qualification at all. Okay, name three non-corrupt politicians in Congress. Adam Schiff, Bernie Sanders, and AOC. Jeff Markley, Bernie Sanders, and Katie Porter, AOC. There's plenty of them. And I would say even Rand Paul. I don't agree with anything Rand Paul says. I don't think Rand Paul is corrupt. I think there are some people that just honestly want to serve their country and do so in government. There are a lot of people in Congress that aren't corrupt. That is not true. It's $300 million to his business. I don't know what isn't true or what's $300 million to whose business. AOC is a fighter. She is. I was thinking about this. AOC is a beautiful woman, and she's also very pretty. She is pretty, and she gets attacked for that by the right, but she's also extremely intelligent, very articulate. Her soul is in the right place. She wants to help people. She seems like a good, decent, kind person. And we need more of that in politics, not less of it. And her boyfriend looks like Jim Galligan. Yeah, Rand Paul, Andy Kim, Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's a great example. There's all kinds of people in Congress that aren't corrupt. The Jim Galligan. Yeah, Jim. If I were like 30 years younger and wouldn't be a pervert and wasn't married, Mark Kelly. Yes, I forgot. How could I forget? AOC would have my book. And the idea that you can't be like the newcomers aren't corrupt. See, that's the other problem of it, right? When you talk about lifelong politics, Donald Trump is corrupt. He is the most corrupt politician in Washington, D.C. right now. He has made more money since his second term started through corruption than everyone in Congress combined in their entire careers. He is the far and away the most corrupt politician in the history of our country. So the fact he's an outsider does not mean he is not corrupt. Being an outsider doesn't mean you're beyond corruption. This idea that, because you care about something and you do it for your entire life, that somehow means you're corrupt about it. No, I'm sorry. You need to be better at thinking than that. Mark Kelly would have my vote too. I would totally vote for Mark Kelly. I think Jon Ossoff, I could get behind Jon Ossoff. I could vote for AOC happily. I'd vote for Kamala Harris again without any misgivings. There are at least a dozen Democrats right now that I could fully endorse as president. And at least 100. I can't think of a single Democrat that would not be a better president than Donald Trump. I can't think of most of the Republicans in Congress would be a better president than Donald Trump. I've rarely enjoyed a trip to Texas. It's kind of smelly. I love Tennessee, though. Haven't been to Arizona yet. If you want to enjoy a trip to Texas, stop by my house. I'll make some brisket, and then you will enjoy that. MAGA does seem to enjoy the suffering of fellow Americans more than Iranians. They gloat about it. Even Donald Trump. They'll sit there and they'll act like him offending liberals is some sort of win. And then they'll say that we just hate him no matter what, and that we're the ones being divisive. Honestly, it's all, oh, hey, Dusty, how you doing today? It's always been like that, but Republicans do everything from make as many accusations as possible place instead of making real claims like Democrats sometimes. Yeah. Republicans, like, I don't know, if you have a little brother, like I have a little brother, and anytime that we got in an argument, anytime there was a fight, if it was my fault, then I got in trouble. If it was his fault, then I got in trouble because I'm older and was supposed to know better. And I feel like Democrats always get treated like the big brother, and Republicans get treated like the little brother. Nobody holds them to the same standard. And like a perfect example was the 2024 election, where everybody's asking Kamala Harris, even though she's giving answers, they're acting like, well, what is Kamala Harris's, solution for inflation or whatever? Never one time did anybody ask a single Republican what they were going to do about inflation. They still don't have an answer. They've never articulated one thing they will do about inflation. But we don't ask them. Why not? Because they're the little brother. I just want to wash dishes. Hey, Alexa, optimize my rest for dish duty. Oh, what is rest? You want to hear something funny? Hey, Google, why is Donald Trump so stupid?
Sorry, I don't understand.
See, she doesn't understand either.
Oh, sorry.
I heard Zelensky ordered drone strikes onto Russian and Iranian ships in the Caspian Sea that were transporting Iranian weapons to Russia, fueling the war against Ukraine. Wow. So Russia is sitting there just cooperating with Iran, and Donald Trump is taking away the the sanctions against Russia. MAGA represents confident dumb. I like the spelling of dumb there. Nice work. I see what you did there. All wealth is made by humans. That billions was exploited from somewhere. The pie of children, right? And I do not understand why the most sanctimonious, the most sanctified right by the right wing is what I call the right of mine. And by that I mean, oh, this is mine. This is mine. Possession is 10/10 of the law. Like why is obscene wealth a right, but eating isn't? Why is obscene wealth a right, but basic healthcare isn't? Why is obscene wealth a right, but being able to get educated to make a living off of your education, off of your training, whether that's college or vocation school, why isn't that a right, but obscene wealth is? Why is obscene wealth the one right that they will fight for to the, whatever? Why is that extra $1 billion of Elon Musk's so much more important than the meal of a child? In that one drone strike, Zelensky literally proved that Russia and Iran are in league. That is, I wonder if they're going to cover that on Fox News. You notice Fox News doesn't cover anything that's ever negative about the stuff they don't want to hear. It is amazing how many people that I talk to, either on this stream or on social media, that have no idea of things that you would think everybody would know. There are people that literally just do not know about the Green Bay sweep, and that there were fake certificates. They accuse me of making it up. No, Musk laid off 4/5 of, was it 4/5? I remember it was basically like down to a skeleton staff, and maybe not even that much. And he made all that, he had all that money. Well, if he's such a great guy, why isn't he even letting people work for a living? You gonna time me out for no reason again? I don't know who's timing you out for whatever reason. I can if you want. Only sponsors are Nutrimil. I can if you want, Victor. Don't get cocky with me, and you won't get the time. I'm talking. Somebody poked the bull and got the horns. So your wish is granted, Victor. Oof. Or as they say in the movies, your wish is my command. Sorry, Victor. I don't step on other mods' toes. Just set a timer for 24 hours. You should be good to come back then. But be a good boy. Okay. What about Mookie Blaylock? What about Mookie Blaylock? I like Mookie Blaylock. I like the name. Still think no, Kobe was not better. Don't even get me started. Kobe is just a high usage, low efficiency. Kobe's not even a top 10 player in my opinion. I think that offensively, James Harden is a better player than Kobe. Kobe was better defensively, but James Harden was better offensively than Kobe. I'd put them about the same category. Kobe was never he was basically went along the ride with Shaq. Shaq was the most dominant player in the world for his first 3 rings. I've never been a fan of Kobe's. Also, Kobe raped people and stuff, which I was never a fan of. We're all adults. We can get along. I agree, Brett. That applies to everyone except Victor. I don't know what happened between Harry and Victor, but right now, Harry is the victor over Victor. Hopefully tomorrow is a fresh day. Rather than $1 trillion for the military, you could give $900 billion to the military. You could, or $1.5 trillion. And it's like, why not? Why can't we just look at, we've got a whole new age of warfare right now where drones seem to be the future, right? And drones are a lot cheaper. Why don't we just start going down that road instead of spending all this money on new battleships, the Trump battleships that are just an extraordinary waste of money? Conversations like this are a breath of fresh air. I know absolutely nothing about basketball, and it's not that political. Also, you mill your own wheat? That's so interesting. How did you get into it? So what happened is after I got COVID one time and I had long COVID, and I was looking into like how I could get more energy, and I was reading some things about how like just some people had had some success with eliminating processed foods. And so I started eliminating processed foods. One day I looked, I was making my own bread, and then I was like sitting there using my flour, and I realized that that processed food was like in virtually everything I ate. And so I bought a mill years ago that I didn't use, and I started using it and started making my own bread. I make my own bread, I make my own pasta, I make my own, I make my own cream of wheat. Cream of wheat is actually really yummy and really easy. All you have to do, it takes like 5 minutes. Um, I make all kinds of things. I make banana bread. I make cobbler. I make desserts. I make hot dog buns and hamburger buns and different kinds of pasta. And um, it's everything tastes so much better. The fresh milled flour tastes just it's a different level. And then I started getting into other things. Like I have some field corn, some dried field corn I use. I nixtamalize it myself and make like scratch tamales, for instance, that are just like your brain is just like, whoa, this is different. If you've never had like homemade tamales like from corn, your brain is like, I cannot believe that this could be this good. So the food it tastes better. And I say I came for the health and stayed for the taste, because it's like I don't even want to go back. I haven't had McDonald's in over a year. I'd rather just, I when I make buns, I make a couple of dozen of them. I throw some in the freezer, and then when I want a hamburger, I just thaw it out and eat it. And my hamburgers are much better than anything you're ever going to get at a store or a restaurant. Crazy glue fake gold appliques on centuries old marble. That's Donald. Yep. It's so gaudy. It's just gaudy. The White House just looks gaudy now. It's so garish. Make America garish again. Trickle down economics is literally a pyramid scheme. It was devised by a person at a party that observed a pyramid of champagne glasses being poured into. Interesting. The notion is just it defies how economics actually works. Bernie is wealthy, but he's not super disgusting wealthy, and he's also still cares about the little guy, and he doesn't act like a prick. And he's not like some people act like if you're a Democrat, then you can't be wealthy, and it's like, no. Does Bernie Sanders pay his taxes without complaining about it? That's all you have to worry about. And his net wealth he's not like his net worth is about between $2 and $4 million, which for just with his Senate salary for as many years as he's been working, and some of that is just his home's value that appreciated and stuff like that. He's not like extraordinarily wealthy. It's a decent place to oh, okay, you're talking about the channel. Thank you. Yeah, it's a decent place to whinge, commiserate, and keep each other from just wallowing in the agony reality I'd surviving this crazy government. And it's, we've kind of buffeted away most of the MAGAs. And we're willing to have conversations and debates and discussions with them, but they don't seem to be willing to have them with us. They just come in every once in a while, yell a bunch of stupid things, and then run away. Class war for 50 years. Yep, ever since Reagan. Like and subscribe if you like bread. I'm going to start doing more food videos. I really need to. I'm gonna tomorrow. I'll show you a picture of the brownies and the blueberry compote I made. Somehow, a portion of the population still thinks that we live in a fair meritocracy where hard work equals a better socioeconomic status. How they do that is a mystery to me. And honestly, if you've ever had a minimum wage job, you've worked your ass off. The less you make, the harder you work in America. You know, these jobs in the fields that immigrants are taking, there's a reason they take those jobs. There's a reason those jobs are available. That's hard damn work. That is really hard work. That is grueling work in the heat, and I mean, it's just terrible, terrible work. This idea that you work hard and you get ahead. Donald Trump never worked hard to get ahead. Donald Trump never worked a day in his life. He never had a boss. He just does what he wants when he wants. These ideas, he's the hardest working president I've ever seen. And it's like, he's the only president you've ever seen work. Of course he's the hardest working. That doesn't mean he works hard. I'm sorry, staying up all night posting silly memes on Truth Social and then watching Fox News all day, that's not working hard. That's not working at all. What do you think of this Reed Rasner guy? I don't know who Reed Rasner is. He's a guy running in Wyoming. I don't know who he is, but he's a Republican, so he's probably. If he's a Republican in the news, I imagine there's a reason for it. Brisket is my favorite. It's a long drive from PA. Yeah, I make a smoked briskets that's really, really good. There's a unique style to Texas brisket where all you do is low and slow around 225 for like 10, 12 hours. And the best ones are just like a salt and pepper rub. I use a mayonnaise or a mustard base, and I just 50-50 salt and pepper. Throw it on the grill for about 12 hours, depending on how big it is. I pull it about 203, and then I just cool it in the cooler for about 2 hours and let it rest. It's really important to let your brisket rest because it lets all the fluids settle down, and then you eat it, and it's good. I'll give Trump credit. Even he does. When I say cooler, by the way, I mean like an igloo cooler. You wrap it in towels and you put it in a cooler to like slow down the cooling. I'll give Trump credit. He doesn't have gold bars hiding in his closet. YouTube filtering is getting scary smart. So they're filtering out the MAGA comments. Kelly, they have a solution for inflation called making it higher. Yes, they're it's like I used to be able to put $100 of gas in my car, and now I can put $150 of gas in my car. So Donald Trump is a genius. It also proves that Iran has weapons, even though Trump. Yes, that's true. If Iran is sending Russia weapons, then Iran has weapons to send to Russia. Actually, Iran doesn't just have weapons, they have extra weapons. You've got some bad ideas, Kelly, leading starving kids that will make my taxes go up like 0.5%. It's a scam. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible person. Bad joke. Starving children walks up to Trump. I haven't eaten in 3 days, Trump. Don't worry, it still tastes the same. He probably would. And while he's eating, carry on a normal conversation. That's all you have to. Yeah, Victor came in just like saying, "Go ahead, put me on timeout," and Harry's like, "Okay." I wanted to go out and get a beer, but it's raining. Now I feel naked without a drink. Uh, you could always do DoorDash. I feel like cooking is Kelly's favorite hobby. I love to cook. I really do enjoy cooking. Um, I love cooking because I love eating, and I love eating food that tastes the way I want it to taste. And that's the beauty of cooking is you can make things taste the way that you want it to. I've never been to McDonald's, but I'd like to try a McGriddle. They smell good when I walk by. Probably just the smell, though. I hear it's trash. Um, I don't know if I ever even had a McGriddle. I like their bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits, but now my biscuits are like my biscuits will destroy any McDonald's biscuit that you ever had or any other biscuit you've ever had. There is an American that I watched that is one of the few of the American population that travels outside of North America. Defund SETI. What is SETI? Search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Yeah, I don't know if we need to spend money on that. And he says you can go to Europe and have fast food takeaway and feel healthier than when you're trying to eat healthy in America. I think in Europe, I can't remember. There was something I was reading about food and the bread in Europe is like different. Um, I think it was canceled bookcase ago. I'm going to assume that was um, autocorrect. Supposed to be decades ago. I was going to say, oh, how long ago? That was like bookcases ago. And keep in mind, of his 3 million, he owns 2 houses, and he has 800,000 in retirement, and has 300,000 in a credit union. So his actual wealth he has on him is minimal, especially considering like he's been a U.S. senator for a long time. And I mean, just his Senate salary is like 170,000 a year. Only issue I have is the BS fair share. Top 50%. Okay, here's the thing. First of all, 50% pay more than 60% of all income taxes. But right now, right away, you've got an issue with income taxes, right? Income taxes are only a portion of the total tax revenue. All right. Secondly, income itself is not a good way to measure things because the wealthiest people don't really have income. Elon Musk does not live off his income. He lives off his wealth. If you were to take the wealth increase of the 10 richest Americans and you were to just tax them at the same median rate as the average American pays in their income taxes, then they would pay an extra $10 billion a year in taxes. So that's the second thing is measuring income taxes is not really fair or accurate. The third problem with it is that there are other kinds of taxes. There's Social Security taxes, which are regressive. There is sales taxes, which are regressive. That means that you actually have to pay a higher percentage of your money in those things. Property taxes tend to be regressive. And some people, they pay rent, right? And the rent pays the property tax of the owner, and they don't even get any wealth accumulation. So when you look at the overall tax burden, including all kinds of taxes, it's a lot flatter than, the 60%. The other problem with that is that the top 10% of the income earners, or the top 10% wealthiest, own like 50% of the wealth in the country. So that 60% is not really a big deal. Uh, I mean, it's like you're acting like the wealthiest, the like everybody in America, when you point to this kind of thing, that the bottom 50% should pay as much in taxes as the top 50%, then you're acting like everybody should have to pay a flat dollar amount, regardless of how much money you make. So I should pay the exact same dollar amount of taxes as Elon Musk. That's your argument, and that's kind of a silly argument. The other thing is that I have no problems in fairness with people that have more money paying a higher percentage of their income in taxes than somebody that doesn't have money. And there's a few reasons for that. One reason is I just think it's more humane. I think it's more humane that Elon Musk has to pay more money in taxes that absolutely has no impact on his lifestyle at all. You could add $1 billion a year to his taxes and it doesn't change anything. Like, he's not gonna sit there and have to choose what kind of, like salad dressing he puts on his salad. He's not gonna make choices based on his taxes. Now, the poorest people, they're having to choose between what kind of food they can feed their kids, or whether or not their kids can have health insurance, or what they have to sacrifice in order to get the medication for their kids' diabetes. So those are like real life choices they have to make if the taxes go up even $100. And then another thing is that tariffs are a tax, but tariffs aren't reported taxes, right? You don't fill out a tax return for how much money you spent in tariffs. Just ask Brett about tariffs. He'll tell you. So I think that, yes, there is absolutely more to say about fair shares than just 60% paying 50% or whatever. Hard work has paid off for me. No college degree, but make more than 100. And good for you. I mean, honestly, sincerely, I'm happy for you. But that does not mean everybody that doesn't make $130,000 a year has not worked hard. This is not like a competition. It doesn't mean that if you're making money, it doesn't mean you haven't worked hard. If you're not making money, it doesn't mean you haven't worked hard. People that don't make a lot of money can still work even harder. Hey, the hardest job I ever had, the most physically taxing job I ever had was working at McDonald's. America must have the largest clot of stupid on the planet. I say 9 out of 10 MAGAs are just as stupid as the other 2 MAGAs. Probably Lee. Do you want lower income people to pay the same amount in percentage? Is that what you're saying? There's one more aspect to that whole thing, which is that actually the wealthier you are, the more you benefit from taxes. Like, I know that we talk about, oh, well, they're getting, this person is getting free food. But like Sam Wall, or, like the Walmart brothers or the Walmart family, they actually benefit from those SNAP benefits going to the people they don't pay enough money, because they can pay less because of those SNAP benefits. They even show their employees how to apply for SNAP benefits rather than give them a pay bump. They take advantage of that, and they make more money because their employees pay their employees less. That's just one aspect of it. They don't have to teach them how to read because there's public education. They get to the store on roads that are publicly financed. The military helps defend them. Nobody's going to come invade my property. Do you do judo? No, I do not do judo. Seek help for TDS. There's no such thing as TDS. Have you heard that the staff that cleans Trump's bedroom finds junk food wrappers all over the floor, chocolate and chicken burger grease rubbed into the sheets, sterling silver and trash even. I have not heard that. It wouldn't surprise me if it were true, but I tend to stay away from rumors like that. Restaurant food these days is mostly styrofoam, cardboard, and insects with lots of seasoning. You must have a Grinder account then, Kent. My point is that the whole argument is a lie, but it's not a lie. Let's start with honesty. I'm being honest. The problem is not the taxes. Yes, the problem is not the taxes. The problem is that rich people don't pay enough in taxes. It's the inability of the government to be held accountable for its spending. No, this is not true. This is one of the most overstated things in political discourse. Every single president, every single person, I've been around for following politics for 40 years, and you see person after person after person sit there and talk about how we need to be more efficient in spending. No, we don't. That's just not true. Elon Musk just spent billions of dollars, went through all this trouble to try and save all of this money, make government spending more efficient. He ended up coming up with crap. And all he did was kill people in Africa. That's just nonsense. It's time to, like, Chris, you seem like a decent guy. You seem like a nice guy trying to have an honest conversation. But can you do yourself a favor and actually look into it? Go on to your favorite AI or read something from an objective third party. Look up Doge and how they tried to save money and what the end result was. Like, do that. Do yourself a favor. You always see these things where like the government spending is wasteful. It's not. The only government wasteful spending is what's happening with our Defense Department. That you do. But when it comes to kids getting food, then it's like, no, that's just a fraction. United States mostly utilizes hard red wheat, which is naturally high in protein and gluten. This high gluten content gives American bread its signature truly elastic texture. Predominantly grows soft wheat, which contains less gluten. Thus results in a lighter flour that often feels easier on the digestive system. I use hard red, and I use hard white, and I use soft white. Soft white does not do great for bread because there's just not enough protein to let the gluten form. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, every kind of bread, every kind of grain has its own particular gluten structure, like barley and hard red, hard white, soft white, spelt, and sometimes like the spelt. Some people that have gluten issues digest spelt easier because it's more of a digestible gluten. But I think that I think it's in Europe they don't like the. I want to say it's they include the bran, and they don't include the bran in the West. And the bran has stuff in it that helps you digest the bread. American supermarket bread tastes noticeably sweeter. U.S. mass, yes, because they take out all the flavor, and then they have to supplement it with sugar. Because they take out all the nutrition, they take out all the flavor, and then they replace it with sugar and artificial vitamins. European everyday breads rarely contain added sugar, relying entirely on the natural breakdown of starches during fermentation for flavor. Yep. U.S. industrial method prioritizes speed. Factories use highly concentrated commercial yeast and dough conditioners to force the bread to rise in a fraction of the time. America has rebred wheats so much to accommodate the modern combine equipment that it destroys the stomach lining. And I think, like, for me, I had 25 years, I had just digestion issues. And then when I went to milling my own flour, it's like, it took like, I'm not sure how long it took before my gut was like better. And it was just, it's like one day I just noticed I haven't had the runs in like 2 weeks. And it's been like a year and a half since I've had issues with my stomach. And this was like, I had like 6 or 7 colonoscopies and 2 or 3 endoscopy. I had so many probes shoved in different ends of my body. And they can never figure it out. I think it's just not eating the poison made me better more than eating the fresh milled flour. But I think there's some also good stuff that I'm eating that helps, and it's also not eating the bad stuff. Government bureaucracy is a waste of taxes. No, it's not. This is like, dude, you've stated your opinion several times without actually ever qualifying it in any way other than just using general vague terms. So if you have a comment that actually has substance to it, I'll read it. But I'm kind of done just reading your regurgitated stuff that has no meaning. Banned in the EU, chemical additives common in the US baking, such as potassium bromate. That sounds kind of like gay, right? Bromate? No, I'm just kidding. Potassium bromate. Get it? You know, bromate. You're my bro, mate. I don't know. Textualizer classified as a possible carcinogen, and ASDO whatever bleaching agent are strictly illegal in Europe, while it's used in almost all American bread. That's probably true. You know what's in my bread? Grain. For my basic sandwich bread, I use grain. Depending on what I'm making, I'll use grain. I'll use and I use organic, non-glyphosate grain, and I'll add either water or kefir. I also ferment my own kefir, and that gives it like a tanginess, and it also makes it softer. And then I'll use either honey or like sugar, just for a little bit of sweetness. And sometimes if I want to make it super super soft, I'll add some sunflower lecithin or some extra wheat gluten, and water. And then I use lard as a fat because it makes it more shelf stable than like butter or something. Meanwhile, Trump just told Monsanto, I believe, that they can continue with their cancerous insecticides, something to do with Roundup. I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about. I barely caught that part of the news. Yeah, that I don't know all about that. But I just made sure that I get my grains from Azure Standard, which is all organic. And it's like I get a 25-pound bag of red wheat cost me like $20, and hard white cost me like $40. And then I use about maybe a pound of grain in a 13-inch Pullman pan, a loaf. So about like a 2-pound loaf. Maybe a little bit more than a pound. I do about 75% hydration. So I measure it in grams. It's about 800 grams, whatever that is. How much is? About 1.7 pounds. So I get like maybe 11 or 12 loaves of bread out of a 25-pound bag. So you figure average about $30 for 25 pounds, and I get let's say, at least 10 loaves out of that. So, yeah, anyway, my bread is a lot cheaper than the store-bought bread, especially when you consider that it's all organic and everything, and fresh milled. The only people that have to fill out their own taxes in the UK are self-employed people. Businesses, employer accountants do their tax returns, and employers get their tax returns done by their employer, and the IRS knows how much money you owe. Why do you need to fill out a tax form? It's so ridiculous. That's actually interesting. I never even considered that. Some people would, like some countries, you don't actually have to fill out tax forms. I haven't seen Kitty in a long time. She should contact Katie Fang. She's known for filing a high-profile federal lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Justice and acting AG Todd Blanche. Kitty popped in here last week for a couple of minutes. She popped in a couple of times. She could use the research. If you wanted to, she's on Substack. If you wanted to reach out to her. The problem is that the rich people don't pay the taxes they owe already. And that's, like effective taxes. Like Elon Musk pays less a percent of his income in taxes than I do. And he doesn't even really worry about, he and Donald Trump, he went years without even owing any taxes. That's true. Billionaire corporations like Walmart consistently give 30-hour work weeks, so they don't have to do much for insurance and other benefits, but they show how to get SNAP. And they even give them company discount to spend the SNAP at Walmart. So billionaires are definitely welfare queens. They are. We need to, I wish we could have more honest discussions about this. Like, how do we get rid of wealth? Like, we don't need to make it so that everybody has the same slice of the pie, but we need to make it so that everybody can afford enough pie. It's not about we protecting people that have too much. We need to protect people that don't have enough. Late night snacking. Trump frequently leaves empty potato chip bags, Starbucks wrappers, and ice cream cartons on his bedroom floor or in the trash. He insisted on carpeting in the bedroom, and he has it soaked wet from the bathroom. Oh yeah, he's got the bathroom floor carpeted. Like, who does that? He is so stuck in the 80s. They did that stuff in the 80s, and then they figured out why nobody did that before the 80s. It's like a cheesy motel. Well, he's an expert on cheesy motels. Why on earth do you need to fill out tax forms? The IRS knows how much tax you owe. Why don't they just take it and send you a pay slip of how much tax you pay them? That's a good question. Because, Harry, that's too easy. In the UK, HMRC just take your income and national insurance out of your paycheck and send you a pay slip every month telling you how much tax and national insurance you paid. They withhold income taxes, and then you still have to fill out a form at the end of the year. So, all right. So we're more or less caught up here, and we're over 2 hours. So I think we're going to end here. Anyway, didn't end up talking as much as I wanted to about, protecting the elections, but good conversation. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great evening. Peace out.